The results of our investigation have been impressive but gruesome. Sadly, what we have ultimately uncovered is a major sex trafficking and prostitution ring.
The crime is not new. What is new is that it's becoming more attractive to organized crime. Police tell us it's easy to see why. There's less risk of getting caught, and unlike drugs, women and girls can be sold again and again. Advances in technology around the world are helping to facilitate human trafficking and exploitation. But there's an opportunity.
Because the same technologies which are being used to facilitate trafficking can be turned around and used to catch criminals, locate victims, and help essentially disrupt the trafficking trade.
At the U.S. government's request, USC researcher Mark Latonero and his team have been investigating the relationship between technology and human trafficking for 3 years now. Working with technology firms, law enforcement, and victim advocates, they're all in the early stages of understanding how email, mobile phones, and the internet are harnessed to help traffickers make a lot of money. It's a directive that comes right from the top.
We're encouraging tech companies and advocates and law enforcement, and we're also challenging college students to develop tools that our young people can use to stay safe online and on their smartphones.
Microsoft is funding research projects looking into very specific areas. One is trying to unravel the coded language used in web ads linked to child sex trafficking. Software could help identify such ads.
Things that we've learned already are, yes, obviously online classifieds play a role, in advertising for prostitution. Mobile phones are really important in this scenario, in this trade. The victims themselves are using mobile phones, the Johns are using mobile phones, the pimps are using mobile phones, all in coordinating the transaction.
Microsoft is one of the global leaders in the tech industry, lending its resources and know-how to develop technology, and in some cases repurposing it to help combat human trafficking. PhotoDNA is an example of that.
PhotoDNA is an image-matching technology used to break down a single photograph into a unique mathematical fingerprint in order to find copies of that same image. It can even work if criminals change the image.
While PhotoDNA is focused mostly on child pornography, it's an example of how tech companies like Microsoft are collaborating, in this case with Dartmouth College professor Hani Farid, turning the tables and using technology to block the spread of images and catch the criminals.
It's just one technology. There's a lot of things that are happening out there, but those are only possible because the technology industry has been working really closely with the child protection community for a number of years on child pornography issues.
Microsoft says more research is key to fully understand the depth of the problem. What's clear is that criminals are using technology to traffic human beings, and collaboration will be key to disrupting technology's use in the exploitation of people. Chris Wheelock, CNN, Atlanta. In just 20 years, computers and mobile phones have become part of the fabric of our 21st century world. Technology has changed the way we communicate, conduct business, even entertain ourselves. The same technology advances have also changed the way criminals operate.
It is facilitating the communication in almost every aspect of our social life, both good aspects and bad aspects, and one of the negative aspects is human trafficking.
Mark Latonero is the research director at the University of Southern California's Annenberg School of Communication and Journalism. For the past 3 years, he's been investigating the global issue of technology and human trafficking at the request of the U.S. State Department.
Technology has been used to facilitate the human trafficking trade, both domestically and internationally. And it's doing that through websites, online classified sites, mobile phones, even video games, and social networking sites.
Criminals are using technology to recruit girls into forced prostitution.
If you have an individual who is trafficking in human beings.
Brian Piegler is a human trafficking investigator for the San Francisco Police Department.
The recruiting can happen at some of the best Catholic high schools here in San Francisco, or A much more commonplace is, foster homes, online chat rooms. There's no place that, in my investigations, that I found that is out of bounds, if you will, for recruiting.
Compliments and online small talk give way to offers to make money. Police and people who work with victims tell us drugs, physical abuse, and threats usually follow. The girls become hopelessly trapped.
We saw here within the last year a group called the Underground Gangster Crips here just in the DC suburbs. That was a group that was using social media to come in and recruit girls into prostitution, which became forced prostitution.
The leader of that gang was one of 150 pimps and operatives arrested in a 3-day roundup in 76 U.S. cities that focused on human trafficking, called Operation Cross Country 7. The gang leader was prosecuted, convicted, and sentenced to more than 40 years in a federal prison. 105 sexually exploited children were freed during the operation.
We are working with our partners to aggregate data and understand where we should be and when we should be there.
One of the most important partners is the technology industry, and Microsoft is among the giants at the forefront of researching the problems of technology and trafficking to help find solutions.
People across the product teams who may have an interest in understanding the role that their technologies might play, both in facilitating and being able to disrupt, kind of across the company. But again, because we're all in this learning phase, it's tough to say yet what our role is going to be in the future. But we know that we know that there's something here. There's something important to look at and understand.
Chris Wheelock, CNN, Atlanta.
What state do you live in? What do you look like? Text sent to a 14-year-old girl's cell phone, a stranger in pursuit of personal information.
As this news report shows, mobile phones, social media, chat rooms, and even online gaming sites are now fertile ground for recruiters in the dark and dangerous world of human trafficking and child sex exploitation.
The pitches tend to be lower threat to begin with, where girls are enticed with compliments or offers, do they want to make some money?
Ellen Bell leads the SAGE project in San Francisco, helping victims of human trafficking overcome and manage their long-term trauma.
The sex industry is a big business, and big business has a big foothold in our country. There's a lot of money being made.
And not just in the U.S. Technology has allowed the spread of the child sex industry around the globe.
As soon as I go online, they come to me. 10, 100, every hour. So many.
Dutch nonprofit Terre des Hommes is using a new tactic, going after the demand side of the equation. They created a virtual child online using sophisticated technology to catch pedophiles, and it worked.
I'm a computer model.
Sadly, in the real world, girls quickly become a commodity once ensnared by a pimp or trafficker.
Unlike drugs, you can resell human beings over and over again.
It's so profitable, San Francisco police investigator Brian Piegler says he's seen a shift away from the drug trade into sex trafficking by gangs he and his partners have investigated for years. The FBI agrees.
So on one girl, I mean, a guy can make $600,000. If you get 4 or 5 girls, you're making a very good living.
Law enforcement will probably be the first to tell you that they can't arrest their way out of this problem. If the private sector can link up with law enforcement, with humanitarian rights organizations, with researchers, and really work together, I think that's really the way forward to solving this issue.
Mark Latonero leads a team of researchers investigating the relationship between technology and human trafficking.
The only problem is that there is so much data that it is physically impossible for the human brain to comprehend it all.
That's where tech firms like Microsoft, Google, and many others are stepping in to help aggregate data, isolate trends, and develop ways to thwart the crime. The anti-trafficking community agrees. Collaboration is key to countering the rising and increasingly sophisticated use of technology to facilitate human trafficking.
Well, as far as the technology problem, I think that is something that we really have to work out with our law enforcement and our community partners and the tech industry as to what is the best way to outsmart the traffickers. But I think also we have to think differently.
As Bell points out, even after the pimps, johns, and traffickers are arrested and jailed, the victims of human trafficking face a lifetime of recovery. There is no delete button to wipe away the experiences and the nightmares they've endured. Chris Wheelock, CNN, Atlanta.